So thank you again for having me. My name is Leslie Charters. I'm the Director of Purdue Student Legal Services, which means I am your lawyer, okay? And that's mainly the reason I'm here, okay, is because there's one of me and 58,000 of you. And it is time, it is past time, okay, for you all to have a robust student legal services program like the other Big Ten schools our size, okay? We're going to see comparisons and you're going to be like, whoa, okay? All right, so this is what we do. These are the areas of law that we cover. The biggest issue students face, y'all know what it is, right? Landlord-tenant. Anybody just love their landlord? No, okay, didn't think so. Okay, so this is why we're here. Oh, I started at Purdue in 2013, okay, with this office started with me. So it's been me for 11 years. And this is why we're here. I'm going to leave this up for a little while so y'all can really study it. We're down there at the bottom in blue. Okay. I gave a presentation to Purdue student government in 2016, and those numbers are in black. Okay. And then I contacted all of these student legal service offices at these Big Ten schools and said, all right, what are you now, right? Give me these numbers again. And those are in red for 2024, okay? So I have us at 55,000, but it should say 58 because Purdue Indy was added to that total, okay? So we're now at 58,000 students. When I started, it was 38,000. Okay. So if you look now at the current student populations in red for all these Big Ten schools, so we're at 58. Minnesota's at 55,000. Illinois Champaign-Urbana is 56,000. Our nemesis down the road, 49,000 at IU. Okay. Look at their budgets. Okay. 905,000, 1.2 million, 885,000, it goes on. We're still at $148,000, okay? How many full-time attorneys do they have? The absolute minimum for a university the size of ours, so let's say 55,000. Let's look at Minnesota, Illinois, and Ohio State, right? Minnesota, Illinois, and Ohio State. The absolute minimum of those, the minimum attorneys, 4. Okay, 4 attorneys. So you all have the same number of legal issues as every other Big Ten school. I'm sorry to tell you, but students do have legal issues when it comes to landlord-tenant, when it comes to criminal issues, minor criminal issues, things like that. We just don't have the staff to help people as quickly as everyone else, right? Or as well, because look at also what they do. I asked, do you represent students in, let's say, a small claims court scenario in a landlord-tenant case? And every single one does, except us. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to say it is time. I've held off, and I'm like, no, I can manage the demand, But now my 3 student workers in the room, raise your hands, Becca, Jacob, Alon, who also are sponsoring this bill, so they are a little bit biased, okay? They do work for me. But they can tell you that they schedule my appointments, and I'm booked out 2 to 3 weeks, solid. And for a student who needs a lease reviewed, well, that's not very timely. It's really hard, right? I mean, there are students who have emergencies that have to like kind of bump the line, but it's just based on these numbers, as you can see, right? There's too many students and too few attorneys. The ratio is just off. Okay. So this is just another example. IU, this is a screenshot from their website. So they represent students in court in civil cases such as landlord-tenant disputes, car accident cases, name and gender change, financial issues. They don't represent in criminal cases, but they advise students on, what happens and the charges and all that. Right now, we're just at Purdue, we're advice only. But But my goal is, if we could get another attorney, we would potentially be able to represent students only in small claims court, only on landlord-tenant matters. So not litigation that goes on for years and years and years. We're talking about a hearing for a half hour in court, okay? Okay. So are we okay with small steps, or are we going to take a giant leap? So these are my goals. These are my dreams for student legal services. We need more attorneys. We could add attorneys with other specialties. Right now, we don't handle things like immigration law. We don't handle things like forming an LLC, business law, okay? And I have those questions come up quite a bit. Representation, small claims only, so not extensive or time-consuming. Landlord-tenant matters, which is the most prevalent issue, and no cases involving conflicts of interest versus Purdue. If it's a student versus a student, we back off. We can't help you. If it's a student versus Purdue University because you worked here and you want to sue Purdue, we can't help you with that. You know, anything like that, any kind of conflict, we're like, see, sorry, can't do that. And then we would be able to expand our presentation repertoire, right? I would be able to go out and give more presentations about the Lifeline law, about all kinds of legal issues that students face. But I'm one person, and it's really hard to be everywhere at, all at once, and still be able to give students legal advice individually. Internships for law students. Law students from Indianapolis could easily, well, not easily, according to the bus route, but they could potentially, eventually, when there's a lot of buses, come up and intern for us if we had, more attorneys, right? We could really expand this program and fit the mission of the university too, to help with the education of law students, right? And then having more attorneys at student legal services would have a huge impact on current and future local situation between landlords and tenants, okay? Because I see landlord-tenant issues all day, every day. Landlords treating students horribly, and they do very little to fix any problems. Because why? Because they're going to fill up. Whether they help you or they're nice to you or not, they are going to fill up. So Alex will be talking in a minute about her story, but I hear horror stories all the time. I'm not going to go into a brief history. You all don't need a history lesson, but student legal service offices have been around in this country since the 1960s, started at UCLA. But we're here to help educate, but also you think of us as your legal insurance. You get help with your mental health, help with your physical health on campus, right? Attorneys are here for your legal issues on campus. Students are predatory targets. You all are signing, maybe your first contract right out of high school. Adult criminal records can affect your background checks, your targets of scams. We're here for retention. We save students a ton of money, which I'm going to calculate here pretty soon. You can't really even calculate the amount of legal issues I have prevented, right, with all the presentations that I've given. And then sometimes students come to me and say, look, I cannot afford an attorney. My landlord has kept $4,000 from me, but I can't afford to sue them. So what am I supposed to do, right? So it's just really important for students to have access to that ability to get justice. And then reducing judgments, expungements are huge. There's no alternative. Right now, if you go to the Tippecanoe County Bar Association website and you look for attorneys who represent tenants, there's one, and she works at Legal Services. But guess what? If you apply to Legal Services or Legal Aid of Tippecanoe County, they will very, very likely tell you you do not qualify financially. Graduate students that I've sent there and said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to, if you need representation, maybe go to Legal Aid or Legal Services. They come back to me and say, well, I was told that I was not indigent enough. I'm just above the poverty line enough that I don't qualify for their services. So I'm like, well, we're back to the drawing board. Student Legal Services is a very important resource for international students, but we could be more because maybe we would, get an attorney that is familiar with immigration law. And we can be advocates for legislative initiatives, like if we ever wanted to change landlord-tenant laws in Indiana to like help tenants a little bit, maybe we could help with that. We're also a great value because we're free, and we do have a trickle-down impact. Okay, that's just things I do. Hopefully y'all are following at Purdue SLS on Instagram for our tip of the week, because I give a tip of the week every Friday or so about legal issues that students face and how to avoid those. I do a summer law practicum in case you all are interested in going to law school. I can introduce you to a bunch of judges and lawyers and all those different things. They're really fun. It's really fun to do. And then, I'm on a Purdue Campus Essentials podcast. You should check it out. This is just an example of how much attorneys cost. Average attorney, about $300 an hour. If you get a criminal misdemeanor case, possession of marijuana, public intoxication, that's going to run you anywhere from $750 to $2,500. Power of attorney, about $600, and expungements around here about $750. So, lawyers are expensive. All right, so before I introduce Dr. Mai again, Husted Mai, I want to go through just a very common legal issue. It is so common that this is based on a true story. I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm not going to tell you who the student is, but I've seen probably 100 of these easily, right? So let's say you paid $1,000 security deposit to your landlord, and you're expecting to get that back, right? You are. That's a lot of money. At move out, the landlord sends you an itemization of damages. They are keeping your deposit and claim that you damaged vinyl floors. They want $4,000 to replace the vinyl floors in the kitchen, and they give you 3 small, blurry photos of the floor showing absolutely no. I look at it and I go, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, is this all they're giving you? Yep, that's the damage they're claiming. Okay, well, I don't see any damage. I don't know what they're talking about. But that's what the landlord's relying on. And so now the landlord has sent you a bill. They have your $1,000, and they've sent you a bill for $3,000. And they're like, all right, let's go, pay up, right? And you're like, can you give me any more proof that this needed to happen? No, we're not giving you any more proof. Nothing. You owe us $3,000. Pay up the money, or you're getting sent to collections. I see this all the time, like every time. The landlord probably is not going to sue this student for $3,000. Why? Because they lose, because they don't have the evidence. What judge is going to look at 3 perfect photos of a floor and go, oh, yes, that is definitely $4,000 worth of damage? Like, they don't have the evidence. So they go, okay, well, we're just going to send you to collections. Well, then you get to go through that process, and you get a collection company sending you a bill. Yeah.
What is collections?
So collections is when the landlord sends your alleged debt, your bill, to a company, or sometimes even to a lawyer's office who is acting like a debt collector, right? So a company is sending you a bill saying, our client, landlord, says you owe $3,000. Now pay up. Also, what that debt collector does, that collections agency does, is sends that debt to the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, which means you have crappy credit now. And it's going to be on there for a very long time, showing that you owe $3,000 to this landlord, right? 7 years. 7 years. It's going to be on there 7 years, yes. Yeah. Unless you take them to court, which is what Dr. Husted Mai did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it does not necessarily specify what the collection was for, and it stays on your credit report for 7 years. If it's renting. Mm-hmm. So huge issue, huge. The most frustrating issue because it's like a threat to you, right? The landlord's like, pay up or else, right? I'm going to ruin your credit, right? Well, now I'm going to introduce Dr. Husted Mai, who just happened to sue the debt collector and the credit bureaus. And basically, I met with Alex. I'm going to call you Alex. Okay. I met with Alex back in 2018. And at the time, she was a grad student. So she qualified for services. All students at Purdue qualify for services. And I was like, look, here's what's going to happen. Her landlord, you want to guess who her landlord was? It probably says up there. It's a big one. Granite. Granite sent her a bill for $140. And she was adamant. No, this is wrong. I got the apartment. It was crap. It was not clean. I left it super clean. I'm not paying this on principle. I'm so mad. I'm not doing this. I'm not paying it. I don't care what happens. I'm just not paying it. I mean, she was extremely angry. And so I talked her through, like, here's what would happen. They're not going to sue you over $140. They were just going to send you to collections. And then that's going to be a big pain in the rear. And then you're going to have to deal with that. And she was like, okay, well, I'll just deal with it. Right. So I kind of talked her through the collections process, but it got to a point where it was time to sue the debt collector, because they're supposed to do, when you dispute something on your credit, they're supposed to do a reasonable investigation into whether you actually owe the debt. Well, guess what? Do you think they do a reasonable investigation? The person who worked for the debt collector testified that she had a quota of how many a day she had to do? 4 minutes per investigation to do, right? So I also testified in her trial, which happened in June of this year. First time I'd ever testified, and it went fine. First question on cross-examination from the defense was, "You don't like Granite, do you?" And I said, "Well, they're not my favorite landlord." Right? So Alex won her case. She won big. Do you all know how much she won? I don't have to have you guess. I have students guess sometimes, and it's really fun. All right, if you already know, don't yell out the answer. Okay? So she sued. It was on her credit report. It affected her, her ability to get a loan, all that. You want to guess how much she won? How much did the jury award her?
$2,500.
$2,500. All right, I'm going to say it's a big judgment. Okay? How much was it? $100,000. Okay? Anybody else want to guess? Yeah. How much? $25,000. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. $1 million. $1.95 million. Woo! All right, I'm going to turn it over to Alex. Say a few words.
Thank you. So, Leslie kind of had you do this at the beginning, but I was just wanting everyone to think about, like, with your landlord, have you ever feel like you've been mistreated by a landlord? They've charged you unfairly. They haven't actually thought of you as a person that they're renting from. And I know we can't take polls here because raising hands means something, I think, in government, but and then think about just your friends too, and build the circle a little wider and wider. And I want you to think about that, because despite what Leslie just said, I think my story is similar to probably one almost everyone in here has had or knows someone who has had, because it started with getting a security or an itemized return back and being like, this just doesn't make any sense. The pictures look clean. I don't know what 7 out of 11 means for my walls being damaged. I don't get it. And what started as what I thought was going to be a cordial exchange with Granite turned into them saying, well, how about we just give you only owe $110 now. Is that better for you? And I was like, cool, but why do I owe $110? If you can explain to me why I owe it, I'm all here for it. And they couldn't. And that's when I went to talk with Leslie. And Leslie's services are truly invaluable, because starting from the point where you feel like nobody's listening, how is this happening? How are there so many people here? How are people allowed to do this? And she validated my concerns and what was going on. And then she was able to help guide me through the process. And I'm beyond blessed for the verdict that we got. But honestly, if Leslie was able to represent in small claims court, it would have saved 6 years of my life. I started this as a 25-year-old person. I'm now 30 years old. I have a family now. And I started as someone that had no idea what was going on in life. And I still don't really, but a little bit more know what's going on. And because Leslie couldn't go to small claims court, I had no other option besides to get sent to collections. And getting sent to collections, as Leslie said, it is rough. I couldn't get my next apartment. I was lucky to have people and family that was able to do that. I needed a new car. Couldn't get myself a car. Had to ask someone to get me a car from when my car broke down. And so it really does affect your life getting sent to collections. It's not a small, trivial thing, especially when you're trying to grow up and be on your own and be independent and be an adult. You can't do that with these marks on your credit. And like she said, there's no other option. You either goes on your credit or you represent yourself in small claims court, which, as you can tell, I'm not the best public speaker. So there was no way. I didn't feel brave enough to go to in front of a judge when they have an attorney. I'm going to stand there by myself. That was too much. And I got matched with an attorney, Duran Keller, who is a debt collection attorney, and he's very good, obviously, at what he does. But something about the verdict that everyone should know is before it came out, the jury asked Judge Persons, who is our judge, if they could give some of the winnings to student legal services. They specifically wanted to do that because Leslie testified and they saw what an impact she had made on me personally, which is true. She's amazing. And then they saw the need in the community. My rent was $465 a month. I bet there's not a single one of you here that pays that low of rent anymore in this town because there's so many people that need housing and there's such a housing crisis going on. So with higher rent comes higher deposits and all of that. And the jury saw that need. There's a need here because right now, as Leslie said, there's no recourse for landlords at all. My case wasn't against a landlord. It was against the debt collector that Granite used. And so we need to have a way for students to have their voices heard and move to the offensive of this. Right now, we're defensive, trying to figure out some way that we can, without having a way to go to court. Why would they listen to us? There's no benefit or loss for them either way. They can just ask for whatever and we have to pay it because we need a place to live. Versus if we're allowed to have Purdue Student Legal Services represent us in court. Imagine if every single one of us here was able to go to court when they moved out and ask for their $600 back. And Granite and all of these other people are able to they have to stay in court, in small claims court, all day and lose their money over and over and over again because they don't have any evidence against 99% of us. They get to just make it up. And so that's why Student Legal Services needs to be funded. And I think something Leslie hit on that's really important is if she has more time, she can make bigger changes in city council and things like that. There's ways to rewrite laws so that tenants actually have a voice and we don't have to go to small claims court to get our money back. But Leslie, as much she's superwoman, I'm telling you she is, she's busy all the time, but even superwoman, she needs help, guys. And I don't know what else to say, but she's incredible and she really needs help. And I think that's something that we need to do for her and for the whole student population, so that it doesn't take 6 years in one giant verdict to make a splash. We should be getting small verdicts all the time to help students out and actually make a change. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Just a couple more slides, I promise, and then I know you all are like on time, okay? So we had 95% satisfaction rate. The enrollment increased 49% since 2013 when I started, still one attorney. Since 2013, I've had more than 8,300 requests for service. And that is like with little to no advertising, right? And there was a question here earlier in the caucus. Do we advertise? Well, I can only fit so many people in my schedule. So I don't really see a need right now. If we had more attorneys, then sure, absolutely, I will just be out there all the time advertising, right? But when you're one person and you're full all the time anyway, word of mouth is good enough for now. Right? Unless I get more attorneys, then I'm happy to do that. But over the last 11 years, with an average of about 300 individual student meetings at $300 an hour if I was going to get paid, which, I don't get paid $300 an hour, I've saved students $1.1 million just in individual meetings alone. That does not include the multiple, over and over emails back and forth with students answering more questions after they've already met with me. All right, this is just some client feedback. You can read it if you want. One, I don't think I put it up there, but Leslie is the bomb. I wanted to put that on there, but I let my student workers go through this, and they were like, yeah. But service was so helpful. There was no way I could afford an attorney on my own and would have gone into my court date blind if not for this service. So things like that. I also have had lots of student workers over the past 11 years who have become attorneys. And I asked them for their feedback about how did student legal services impact you and your, career path. And so they gave me some really great quotes. One is actually focusing on housing insecurity. I think he's working for the DOJ. And so, yeah, lots of now attorneys who used to work for me. And yeah, so that's just some things that they said. The top one. He's a housing-focused civil rights attorney. His name's Adam. As he applied to law schools, he talked endlessly about his involvement with SLS and how it shaped his perspective on the law. So we can have an impact at Student Legal Services with your educations, right? About every student worker I have, and I have 6 now, want to go to law school. And they all crush me on the LSAT, by the way. You all are really smart at Purdue, like really super awesome students. So anyway, I love to see where they go with their careers, and we have an impact there too. I think. All right. I'll take questions, but I know we have gone exactly 30 minutes since I started. Yeah. Do I think that Alex's story is going to suppress some of the behavior that landlords are doing? Well, I can't tell you I've seen anything so far that's made it. Because she sued the debt collector, right? The landlord is not paying up any of that 1.95. Wow. 1.95 million. Any other questions? Yeah. Another attorney. What's the minimum requirement that I need to start representing students? I think one more attorney. That would be just dedicated, either I or they. We would figure it out. Somebody would be dedicated to just handling the cases in small claims court. Yeah.
What would the ideal number of attorneys be?
Well, I think based on, let me pull that really super duper helpful chart. Go back to the chart. I think if you're going to compare us and we're going to actually be competitive with other schools and what they offer, well, why not 4? Why not 4? There is enough demand here. I can promise you that. My student workers can attest to that as well. There is the demand. It's just a matter of how much of a giant leap are we going to take? Yeah.
My other question was, how is there a half of an attorney?
Part-time. Is there half of an attorney? Yeah, part-time. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. So paralegals are really helpful to attorneys that are really busy, who don't have time to do legal research for certain legal issues. Something will pop up and you're like, well, I got 1,000 other things to do. Could you please look up this one issue that might come up in court and I need to have case law on it? Help me with that. They also file things with the court, monitor cases, all that kind of stuff. It's really helpful to have a paralegal, which I don't have. I have 1 student worker position shared by 6 student workers at the front desk. If you all have a traffic ticket as well, I can help you with that. I know you all aren't getting in any criminal trouble, and now you're not going to have any legal issues with landlords. Yeah. Does Purdue Indy have a law school? Not Purdue Indy. There's IU has a law school. Both in Bloomington. Yes. Yes. So, but we could offer an internship to any law student, right? Purdue Global has a law school.
I had a follow-up. What would that internship program look like?
So what would that internship look like? Well, I can tell you what they do at IU. So IU has a law school in Bloomington, and they have 4 full-time attorneys, but also 9 or so law students who are 2 or 3 Ls. who, as long as you are supervised by a practicing attorney, you can act as an attorney in court and represent people. So it's an awesome experience. I did that when I was in law school. You know, when you're in like a clinic setting, you can be supervised by a lawyer and you can go in and argue for your client as a law student. So we could offer that in small, to be supervised by the attorney in small claims court, and then they could go in and argue for Purdue students for their case. Yeah.
This is just a question about small claims court. You kind of mentioned how if you would have been able to represent her in small claims court, that would have presented the collections. So in small claims court, would you be directly suing Granite?
Yeah.
And then how does that?
So small claims court is supposed to be very informal and it's supposed to not take very long. Okay. So like the rules of evidence don't apply. It's not like what you see on TV. It's like a conversation in front of the judge for maybe a half hour at the most. If there's a lot of, contentious issues or lots of evidence that needs to come in. But basically, to get into small claims court, you file a piece of paper that says you're suing, and it costs about anywhere from $100 to $135 in court costs to file a claim. So now students would have to pay that, right, to file their claim, but then they would at least have a lawyer arguing for them, on their behalf to advocate for their position instead of, against the landlord's lawyer who shows up. Right. And it's a very short amount of time that would be needed. It's not like you're continuing on and on for years. Yeah. And then it ends. Yeah. And then you get a decision. Right. And then it ends. Yeah. And the judge issues an order and it's over. Yeah.
Personal question, not anything else, but in your experience, who's the least predatory landlord on campus?
Oh, I don't want to get sued if I leave somebody out. So I'll say I have a very, very short list of good landlords. So please come see me, email me. I'll probably talk to you over the phone about that. I will not put it in writing. Okay. But there's very few. Okay. See me after. I'm going to stay for a little while. Yeah.
I just kind of want to qualify because I know the answer to the going with the 130 to 135. On average,
how much the landlords are keeping on average? On average, every security deposit I see is about 1 month's rent. Sometimes they're requiring students to pay 2 months rent up front, which is crazy, but whatever, it's Indiana law. So you all are at a huge disadvantage with Indiana law, landlord-tenant law. It does not help tenants at all. But yeah, I would say anywhere from $500 to $1,500 they're keeping. And they're just making stuff up. I mean, like that floor example. They just want new floors. I see it with carpet all the time. Oh, you damaged one piece of the carpet over in the corner. Got to replace everything. Brand new carpet, even though what you moved into was 10 years old. Got to pay for the brand new carpet. Fork over $1,000. It's like, what? Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm just curious. Do you get your money, only from the university, or are there other sources of?
Thank you for that question. So, I was funded the first 3 years through the student activity fee, and it was $133 per year for 3 years. Okay. And then at the end of like 3 years plus maybe 3 months or so, Purdue student government president and I think vice president came in my office and said, you're going to be a permanent office on campus, which means you're getting benefits. Like you're going to be an employee now, not an independent contractor, which made me cry. So there you go. So that was like the coolest day, to get that news. Like, okay, I've proven that students need this. And now I get, like health insurance. Yay. And retirement. Woo. I also teach a criminal law class. If anybody wants to take it, Social 391, shameless plug. Okay. Because I was a prosecutor and a public defender also. Yeah.
What is the cost of like maybe contractor and full-time employee? What does one attorney in your office for that?
Well, what does one attorney cost? Well, that's a big range. I think so prosecutor and public defender jobs, I'll say, just out of law. Normally they're hiring students just out of law school. And I just saw the other day, like First time out of law school prosecutor, minimum was like 75 grand. So if we want to compete with that, that's like the minimum, okay, to get a lawyer in here. So I would say we would have to average around that. But look, I'm not asking you all to figure out where the fund's going to come from. I'm just asking for your support so the university understands the need. Okay. The university, somehow money just shows up for like CAPS therapists, right? It did. Y'all got $1 million for CAPS. Good work. You said, hey, we need more CAPS people. We need help. We don't want to wait that long to meet with someone at CAPS. So please fund more, counselors and therapists there, please. And you got the funding. So that's all I'm asking is just, you don't have to worry about the money. Just put your support behind this bill or this resolution, proper language here, resolution, and then we'll see where it goes. Yeah. Thank you. Interesting.
At 7:48, I will now call this meeting to order. Okay, first we're going to get started with introduction of visitors. So if we have any visitors, please introduce yourselves. So that would be our exponent and our Senate Associate members. And we should have 10 present tonight. So please, all 10, say say your name, who you are proxying for. We'll get started with, yes, question. Oh, you were going to say. We'll get started with exponent first. Or sorry. Oh, perfect. Okay, we'll move into Sam's. But make sure you guys are remembering to press the buttons and leaning in and talking into them. Sorry, I know it's annoying. Okay, let's get started with our Senate Associate members.
Hi, my name's Elishba. I'm representing Senator Garcia on behalf of College of Ed.
Hi, I'm Anna Heck. I'm representing Senator Martin for the College of Ag.
I'm Kelby Roberts, representing Senator Kaufman in the College of Ag.
I'm Rosie Barrett, representing Senator Katagari in the College of Exploratory Studies. I'm Chaitanya, and I'm representing Sadie Poirier in the College of Science.
I'm Wiley Frederick, and I am representing Senator DeZavilla in the College of Pharmacy.
My name is Ria Sharma. I'm proxying for Senator Walker from the College of Health and Human Sciences.
My name is Alexander Lashetsky. I'm proxying for Dario Abusada of the School of Business.
My name is Tatum Hodge, and I'm a senator for the College of Ag, or a Senate associate member, sorry.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna now take roll call. Senator Martin? Senator Kaufman? Senator Williams? Senator Wolf? Senator Blazik? Senator Garcia? Senator Ali? Senator Grossman? Here. Senator Eamon? Senator Muscarella? Senator Katagari? Senator Walker? Senator Hu? Here. Senator Halder? Here. Senator Rice? Here. Senator Munkholm? Senator Abusada? Senator D'Isabella? Senator Liu? Here. Senator Ketcher? Here. Senator Poyer? Here. Senator Hijaz? Here. Senator Ramazami? Here. Senator Koteka? Senator Bergen? Senator Seminaro? Here. Senator Kalangari? Here. Senator Shankar? Here. Okay, perfect. And then all of our proxies, remember that you guys have speaking and voting rights tonight. Proxies, you're basically serving as your senator. You are your senator tonight. So you need to make sure that you are voting on the legislation. And you should all be in the poll Slack. All right. I'm now going to move into the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional homelands of the indigenous people upon which Purdue University is built. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers. We will now move into our pledge of purpose. Our purpose is to be the voice of the Purdue student body, serve the needs of students in all university matters, and provide leadership that stimulates initiative, inspires excellence, and exemplifies professionalism. Hail Purdue. The minutes from the last meeting were distributed by Pro Temp Munkholm. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. We will now move into advisory reports. Dr. King.
Hello, everyone. For those that don't know, my name is Marcia King. I am the advisor for the student government. At any time, if you need help on who to talk to about your legislation, please stop by. I will connect you with the right people to help move things forward so that you are able to have a timely and well-informed piece of legislation. Or if you just need candy, stop by Crocs Reset. This week we have cookies, the same cookies that, where we go? Okay, the same cookies Jacob gave out on Friday, we have some in the office. So we really like those.
We also have some of those cookies here tonight. There's only like 5 left though, so whoever gets 10 snaps, you get to test them out. Okay, now moving into executive reports. President Packard.
Okay, I got a handful of updates here. Early voting is tomorrow at the COREC, so if you're registered, go vote. Let's go. That was a big thing like a month ago, the resolution we passed, if we remember. Or was that a bill? Who knows? Okay, we have a conference this Friday in Indianapolis, and Becca and Cy are representing us, and they're going to be speaking to legislators about the Lifeline Law in other schools.
Paul's
very
going.
Exciting. Paul as well.
Not Cy, just Paul.
Oh, Cy's not going?
Cy's busy.
The slideshow. I think I sent like an all caps message in the channel yesterday because I was talking to the EDs. If you do legislation and you're proud of it, go into the slideshow and make a slide about it because It's the only way we're going to remember it. Future administrations will see it, and it's very important to document the hard work you guys do. Put it in writing. We're going to see it later, and it'll be great. We want to see the hard work you guys do. So if you pass a piece of legislation or do something, make a slide in the slideshow about it, and it'll be great. You'll really be helping future PSG. Picture Day will be next Senate meeting, so make sure you come well dressed, whatever you want to be seen in Picture Day. Let's see. And then we're also appointing the elections director today, and then we've got some goals for the elections that Eli might speak on.
Okay, I want to get my updates. Okay, banquet. So we are having a fall banquet, and it's going to be at Ross 8 in the Buchanan Club. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask me or the lovely engagement committee back there who is planning it. Woo! But yeah, they've been working hard on it. It's going to be good. It's going to be big. It's going to be on November 21st, the Thursday, likely. So everybody keep that date open. Do not schedule anything on Thursday, November 21st from 6 to 8:30. We also do have the room for longer if you guys want to stay for longer, but we were going to make it a reasonable amount of time. So, okay, also, Board of Trustees Surgeon Screening Committee. Jason and I sit on that committee. I chair that committee. So on the Board of Trustees, we have a student representative who serves 2-year terms. Kevin Bays, if anybody is familiar with him, but his term is ending this year. Therefore, we are in charge of selecting the next student rep for the Board of Trustees. And so I just want you guys to make sure that you're keeping your eyes out for those applications, because there'll be a lot of information released about it soon. We'll also have Kevin Bays come speak at an upcoming meeting. Also, University Senate. Who in here has been contacted by the University Senate in some form / is like serving their committee that they chose in some manner? Like if you've been contacted about grade appeals or something. Yeah, can you raise your hands? Okay. Okay, so some people have been contacted. University Senate has notified me that they will be reaching out to you guys this week. So if you are not contacted by this Friday, please reach back out to me so that I can make sure that the chairs of your committees know that you are eager and ready to help. Chief of Staff Eli.
Hello? It's squeaking. No big updates for me. Bod showed out tonight. The second row behind me is really just all board of directors people. And I'm a big smile across my face for them all being here. I love it. I love to see the interconnectedness of branches. I actually went to court on Monday, and it was really cool to see students representing themselves in that matter. So if you ever want to go to court, make sure to fill out Jacob's little sign-up sheet and go. It's really entertaining and fun. And I guess I could speak on one of the bills going up today, the elections director appointment. During that time, ask me questions, put me under pressure, because I will be under a lot of pressure during elections, so might as well get myself used to it now. And yeah, I want elections to be one of the most competitive, fun, smooth rolling elections that PSG has ever had. So please ask me questions.
Deputy Chief of Staff Fonte.
Hi guys. Now that standing committees have met a little bit, or maybe you've just been talking about bills with other senators, you might be thinking, I kind of want a table so students can learn about this issue. Sweet. We have materials for you in our PSG closet, and we have tables and we have tablecloths if that's something you want to do. However, BOD also has a lot of tabling events, so we need a way to keep track of this stuff so nobody is going to the closet and looking for a table and there is no table. So right by the link to Jason's scrapbook, first page of the SharePoint, there's a events and equipment renting calendar that I will be updating, and that will be updated. So if you are planning on tabling, put your tabling event, the equipment you'll need, and everything you take from the closet must be returned in 24 hours of your event, regardless if it's on a weekend or not, just to make sure that we keep everything orderly. And yeah, thanks.
I do also want to add, too, that you guys are supposed to be doing one outreach event per semester, so please reach out to Deputy Chief of Staff Fonte or Chief of Staff Eli to communicate to them if you guys want to partner with any board of directors committees, because they would certainly love that. Or any of the board of directors, executive directors back there. You could talk to them at the end of this meeting. Okay, Treasurer Springer.
Yep, I got a handful of updates as well. First of all, I met with the SOGA board on Sunday, so decisions for period 2 should be going in this coming weekend. We gave out $180,000, so really exciting. And yeah, that'll be coming. One other thing, reimbursements and the budget is up to date as of now. I will say we need to spend more money. All the senators have money for your college and for your committee. So look at the budget and look into spending that money. Because as of now, we spent only $12,000 of our $110,000 budget. So really important we spend our budgets because it doesn't roll over. Moving on, working with Alon and the engagement committee to get the contract for the end of year banquet through Bozo. That's just something that's in progress. As well as updating SOGA and SFAB guidelines to include our Indianapolis location. And that's kind of all for me.
Yeah, like Jason and I's initiative this year, it's not a costly initiative, obviously, with the Lifeline Law stuff. So if you guys want to plan any big events, like, please, please, please reach out. Okay. Press Secretary Gonzalez.
There are no really big updates other than keep sending me your events so they can be put in briefing.
Secretary Maria?
I don't really have any updates either. I just want to remind everyone that during this session, before you speak, I'd appreciate it if you give me your last name right before you start speaking, so I can put that down. Yeah, that's it.
Chief Justice Pranger?
Hi. So as Eli was saying, go to court. I just put the sign up link in the Slack for everyone to use. All senators, EDs for the BOD people behind us, thank you for coming, and all cabinet members should at least go to court once to see what it's like, experience, as Eli would describe it, the thrill, the fun of court, at least once. On the court end of things, we are, this coming Monday, we're going to finish up conflict coach training. We did the first part with Dalton through OSRR last Monday, the 14th. We're going to do that second part on this coming Monday. And this past week, we finished up our semi-annual Know Your Rights tabling, which got posted on the social media. We gave out Jimmy John's and Cheryl's cookies, which are in the box over there, as Dr. King said. Yeah, we were tabling, letting people know about SLS, about their student rights, legal resources around here, what court does, what PSG does as a whole. But yeah, we finished that up, and I'll be advertising when we do it next semester. But that's about it for updates for me.
ABTS Liaison Steves?
Yeah, so all steam ahead on going to fall conference. We have our delegation selected and pretty much ready to go. If you have any big things that we need to bring up with ABTS, if you have any connections, if you have any big things that we need to advocate for at that conference, please let me know, and we can talk about it with that massive support base, and we can at least try to get that done. And I have nothing else. Have a good night.
Senior Policy Advisor Cotaro. I don't think she. Okay. Okay. All good. Any additional executive reports? Seeing none, we'll move into committee reports. Oh, actually, I do have a report. Senate Associate members. If you don't see your Senate Associate member up here, let me know. Talk to me at the end of the meeting. Message me on Slack, email, some form of contact. Or if this is the wrong Sam. Everybody's on Slack. Should be. Okay. Internal Affairs. Senator Halder.
Hello, everybody. Okay, for this report, we basically just updated the standing rules. It's a little bit echoey. We added an explicit timeline of legislation, due dates to the pro temp, added the ability for the, yes, that's the timeline. It's very comprehensive, but I feel like that's what helped me completely visualize it, so let me know if you have any questions. And then for the rest of the report, if you want to go back a slide. There you go. Thank you. We added the ability for the pro temp and committee chair to pocket veto legislation, and then other terminology, grammar, and parliamentary procedure changes. For the floor, we have this this change in an amendment as a bill, and then we're working on reviewing the Constitution and bylaw consistency regarding the SAMs, because it's been brought to our attention that there's some differences between the two.
Do you mind going through what the deadlines for legislation is going to be now?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Okay, so take for example today we have Senate. Testing. No.
We also have the mic.
All right. Yay, Mike. Okay, so for example, today, Wednesday, 10:23, we have Senate. We're all here. Love seeing y'all. Tomorrow, okay, if this bill were to pass, tomorrow would be when you would start writing legislation. And in theory, you're already doing this. You would have tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then next Wednesday is when the legislation would be due for the next Senate meeting. And it would be due to Owen in the same process and email that you've been doing all semester. And then that Thursday of no Senate, the committees would review the legislation that you sent to Owen. I know we haven't been doing this as much this semester, but we should be. So the committees would then have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to review the legislation that Owen sends them. And then Monday, Owen would send out his email as he's been doing this semester. And this is the Monday of the week that we have Senate. And then Tuesday of the week of Senate, we would have y'all read the emails and be knowledgeable about the stuff that's passing. And then we'd have Senate and it would repeat all over again.
Perfect. We could pass around the mic or I can take it from me, either or. Wait, do we have any questions regarding that? Because that's going to change. Yes.
So I'm allowed to ask questions, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are all committee meetings after Wednesday?
So the majority, okay. So the majority of them are, we figured that So Monday at 11:59 is when Owen is now going to be sending out the legislation to you guys to read, the finalized legislation, the Monday prior to the Senate session, right? 2 of the committees meet prior to that Monday at 11:59. The other 2, or no, actually 3 of them now, because we made it the Monday. 3 of them meet prior to the Monday at 11:59. The only one that doesn't meet on the Monday is University and Academic Affairs, which meets on the Tuesday. So we figured that if it's due on the Wednesday prior to Senate session, so a week before Senate, then at least 3 of the committees would be meeting in person and could discuss the legislation that is assigned to their committee. And it's up to the discretion of the pro temp which committee he wants to assign it to, but all legislation should be going through the committees. And we want to make sure that these discussions are being held before Senate. That way what is being brought to the floor, you guys are very knowledgeable on. So Wednesday before Senate session is when you need to have your legislation in. Owen sends it out to the committees. Committees need to have it back to Owen by Monday at 11:59 is when he's going to send out that finalized legislation. Any questions? And you guys should be voting on the legislation in your committees too. Okay. Financial Affairs, Senator Grossman.
Yeah, so we had a unfortunate technical difficulty during our meeting this weekend. The actual form that we use for the small grants was broken. It's fixed now, so that's good. We have 8 applications so far, and we've also fixed an issue where on the form it would link to the previous guidelines, which is obviously not ideal considering that we passed the updated guidelines. A fun fact is that we have more grant applications than the total number of grants awarded in 1989. And in terms of outreach, we did get placed on the Boilermaker briefing, but when you clicked on the link, it sent you only to SOGA and to
Yeah, we talked to Paige about
Yep.
that one.
And then we also, thanks to the comms committee, we are on Instagram. So repost the small grants program, share it with all your friends who are treasurers of organizations, and we hope to see more small grant applications in the future.
Campus Student Resource Affairs, Senator Rice.
Yeah, not much to report here. We got a couple pieces of legislation on the floor tonight. So just keep your eye out for those. And we got some more things in progress that you can see listed there. This wasn't a piece of legislation, but I had a constituent brought to me that they wanted all the pianos in the residence halls to be tuned. So I did that this week. But yeah, if any questions about the resolutions or stuff we're doing, come talk to me.
Perfect. Senator Poyer, does her Sam want to speak on this? Or yeah, you want to speak on it? Yeah.
I can fill in for her. So we have been talking about the MEEP expansion, doing more research on that to make sure that we can have a pretty knowledgeable piece of legislation soon. We do have legislation on the floor today about approving absences for professional leave. So you'll see that later today as well.
Perfect. Senator Williams, would you like to give any updates about the Lifeline Law ad hoc?
Yes, I think this mic is not working super well, so Okay, so with the Lifeline Law Ad Hoc Committee, we're working on reaching out to student leaders and student governments at other schools across Indiana to help form a greater coalition across the state to help advocate for this law along with lawmakers. One thing that we are bringing to the floor tonight is a bill to amend the university policy on university medical amnesty policy to include protections for people who are at the scene and stay and assist and provide relevant information to law enforcement when emergency medical attention is called for. Emergency medical services are called for someone in need of medical assistance for intoxication or something of the sorts. So that resolution we talked about during caucus, but that will be introduced tonight, and that's kind of been the main thing as a committee we've done in the past 2 weeks. So,
Senator Ramaswamy, do you want to speak on food accessibility updates?
Yeah, so we met for the first time this Sunday. It was super exciting. We have a really good, diverse group of people. We talked about expanding the services of the ACE food pantry, possible advocacy we could do for a grocery store, and just honestly, we talked about a lot of the grievances that we have with the food accessibility in general. So it was a great conversation, and it's a great group, and I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Perfect. Okay. Seeing no further committee updates, we will now move into informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2440?
This is Senator Ramaswamy. So we talked about this during caucus. Basically, the premise of this bill is that we would be asking ODOs to give 2 excused absences per a student per semester for professional related leave. This could include interviews that students would have to travel for, interviews that are done virtually but during class time. We talked about potentially missing class for career fairs, anything of the professional sort. However, it did come to my attention. This was something that we talked about within our committee, the UAA committee, but it came to our attention that we might get potential pushback from ODOs because we have not talked to them about this or seen if this was something that they've done before. And so during caucus, we talked about potentially moving this to the next session.
Yeah, and so we can likely what would be best is just to refer it back to a committee so the committees can make amendments to it. And so we can do that when the bill is brought to the floor. And then we'll need a senator to make that motion. Okay. Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2441? Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2442? Yes.
Hi, Senator Rice here. So we had a couple questions that came up during caucus, specifically relating to the. First, I'll talk about the pocket veto. I think these are going to be for you, Nicholas. But the first question that came up was if a bill is pocket vetoed, is it then dead or is it referred back to the committee for changes?
If something is pocket vetoed, it's immediately dead. Like that. So this is how it's used, and okay, so the pocket veto is like, if this does pass, it's a new power to PSG. This is something we've never had before, but it is used on the federal level. So essentially, yeah, if something goes through, it's pocket vetoed, it's dead. Another bill, like an approved bill, if there were like obvious problems that both President Pro Temp and the committee chair agreed on with the bill, then it could be reproposed as long as it is different. It can be the same topic. It just has to be different wording. It can't be the exact same bill.
Okay, perfect. And then the second question we had was the new, I don't know what to call this, the Madam President and Mr. President.
President's opinion?
Yes, that. So first, I'd love to hear how this is different than yielding time to the president or vice president to hear their opinion, and furthermore, if they get a vote with this power.
Okay, so to clarify, when we're like talking about president's opinion, we're talking about president of the Senate. So it is always going to be whoever's at that podium. So in this case, we're talking specifically about president of the Senate, senior, right? So if it's president's opinion, the reason when you are at the podium, so when you are chairing a meeting, you are not allowed to have an opinion. You must be completely impartial. So that's where the difference comes with the yielding time, is even if we did yield her time, and actually, fun fact, she's a member of the Senate, so she doesn't need time yielded, just like I don't need time yielded to talk because I'm also a member of the Senate. But if time is yielded to her specifically, she can't do anything from the podium. So president's opinion switches her out with somebody else so that she may assume the role where she can speak in terms of voting rights. So already she has the right to vote. It is just never exercised. So the president of the Senate has the right to cast tie-breaking votes. We haven't had a tie-breaking vote. It's not been a problem, so it really hasn't happened. Even if president's opinion is enacted, like she has the capacity to vote. If the person exercises it, would be based off of the president who is going to the speaking floor instead, if that clarifies.
So she only has the power in her current capacity to vote in a tie-breaking vote. Would that stand if she were to be switched out with you?
Yes. Sorry, I should have clarified. Yes. Even if she switches, it's still the same thing of where she would have the tie-breaking vote. It does create problems because from like this seat, or if she were down here, she cannot cast the tie-breaking vote. Essentially, okay, the tie-breaking vote can only be cast from the podium by the president of the Senate. So even if I am taking the power of the podium at the time, I cannot vote, even if it's a tie. And at that point, she couldn't vote either. She has the ability, but because she vacated the chair at the time, she no longer has the authority to vote.
Okay, I'm gonna restate everything just for myself.
I feel
and
like
for
I just made it
everyone
more
else.
confusing.
No, it's okay. I think I get it, but I'm just gonna restate. So, what happens with this power is Becca originally has the power to cast a tie-breaking vote and not express her opinion.
Correct.
If we, as the Senate, vote to hear her opinion, she can swap places with either Owen or you. You would go to the podium. You would not be able to share an opinion. She would come down. She would be able to share an opinion, but nobody would be able to vote.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was the reason we opted for parliamentarian over another senator, because when you're at the podium, you lose your right to vote. And the parliamentarian, I, as my position, never have the right to vote, but I have the right to debate, which means that I can hold this position. But if it were a senator that had done it instead, that senator immediately loses their right to vote in a motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a working microphone.
Woo! Okay. Yes, Senator Grossman.
Yeah, so I had a concern with the it appeared contradictory to me that in the pocket veto section of the legislation it says, it removes the unless otherwise stated for the committee review clause. And I was under the assumption that there were two other places where bills can bypass committee review. There's the power of expedited legislation for the president pro tem, where a lot of bills do go to the floor, stuff like appointments, which doesn't go through committee review. And then also, if you bill on the floor that was not under committee review, it would be the 12 senators, which is, section 3 subsection 2c. And so I'm interested in what takes precedent. Is the otherwise stated precedent, can you still get a bill to the floor, or can every bill be pocket vetoed?
So, for one, to clarify, there's three different ways. It can go through Jason, it can go through Owen, or it can go through the 12 senators. Those are the three different ways that you can go around committee review. So when we're talking about like the unless otherwise stated, I don't think I understand your question.
So my question is, in order for something to be pocket vetoed, you need the president pro tem and the committee chair consult on a bill, right? But in order for a bill to be going to committee, you have to already send it to Owen, signed it to committee, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
So if there was a bill that was not going through committee review, would it still be purview to the pocket veto?
If it's not going through committee review, then no, at that time. But even then, like I said, there's only those three exceptions where it can be an appointment, where it can go start from Owen to begin with, or it can be 12 senators. So no, if one of those three things happen, then there's no way it can be pocket veto because it bypasses.
And then I'm a little confused as to why the wording says all pieces of legislation presented to the student senate shall require committee review. Because, and then it says unless, and then it only states the pocket veto. It doesn't also say unless otherwise stated.
Well, because that's clarified. Each of those other three things have their own clauses. It's like there's a clause about presidential appointments, there's a clause about pro temp, and then there's a clause about the senators somewhere. It is all, that is why, is because there was other places that it was at. Wait, real quick. I just remembered. So for the standing rules, how it is listed right now, it like stipulates that there has to be 2 readings of the Senate standing rules for them to be in action, right? But the problem with that is if these Senate standing rules were voted on today, then the second voting would be in 2 weeks, and then so on and so forth. However, if these Senate standing rules are not made effective today, then we cannot create the new legislative process with the committees. So I would ask, you guys don't have to, of course, but I would encourage that the Senate standing rules, while this motion is up, be suspended. And I know that is very counterintuitive when you think about it, but essentially we're suspending the current Senate standing rules, the clause about amendments, and then passing the amendment to then make the amendment effective immediately. Doesn't make sense? No, none. Okay. So currently how the rules state that say like any amendment to this set of rules requires 2 readings. But as a body, we need them to be essentially effective so we can start the new legislative process with the new deadlines. So I would encourage someone suspend the rules, which literally just means you are suspending a rule that we are currently limited by. So suspend the rule about amendments and the current standing rules to make this Bill 2442 effective immediately. Does that make more sense or still no?
Yeah. So
is that a motion?
Yes.
It'd
I move to suspend Article X, Section blank of the standing rules.
Yes.
I see Dr. King.
Can you do that during informal discussion? Just asking for clarification.
The bill has to be brought to the floor first.
Correct.
And then, can you clarify, this was already in standing rules, you have not been practicing?
Yeah, and that is the thing. Okay, so 2 fun facts. For one, Senate standing rules do not govern caucus or informal discussion. Senate standing rules essentially start at new business. So like that is why we can't make any motions here because there are no rules about it. Yes, there has already been a timeline for legislation that I'll be honest, both before this conversation was not being enforced. Last year it really wasn't being enforced either. It's simply a problem that we're like, okay, these rules were created, let's say a decade ago, and then there has been that loss of information between administrations. They didn't know that this is how it's supposed to be done. So the amendment to like the legislation process was made to be as effective to how Senate functions today and not how Senate functions, say, 10 years ago. So that has already been in here, but we're amending it to make it effective to our body.
Senator Eamon?
Sorry.
What is the threshold for a motion to suspend the rules?
2/3.
So next week, there's going to probably, if there's going to be a bill that's going to say, oh, this bill moves to suspend the current standing rules so that we can enact the new standing rules so that the new standing rules can work for us right now. Okay, just that.
Yeah, no, that's as confusing as it sounds. That is exactly right. Yes.
Senator Wolf?
So would we then have old business?
No, because if we essentially what we're doing is suspending the part that requires a second reading, which would require it for next time. So there would be no old business, and it would just be effective immediately. We never have to, unless we want to amend them again, we never have to go back to the standing rules and debate about it or anything like that.
The objective is that we are abiding by this new legislative timeline at the end of this meeting. As soon as this is passed, we are abiding by this new legislative timeline so that the bills can actually be sent to the respective committees of Owen's choosing. That way the committees are actually looking through it.
Okay.
Senator Grossman.
Whose job is it to enforce the standing rules?
Actually, the standing rules can be enforced by any member. So the Senate standing rules, just as a whole, actually any of the governing documents, any member of that body can enforce it just by rising to a point of order or for calling for the orders of the day, which that just essentially means that you have to go follow the agenda exactly.
I raised that question because the committees are to meet no less than once per week. That previously when we only had one thing to vote on or nothing to vote on, I was CSRA last year and they would go and say, well, we have nothing to vote on. Is it okay if we don't have a real meeting? Like we just say, and then they have a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and everyone would thumbs up it. That happened once or twice, and some people would call that a meeting, and some people would call that choosing to not have a meeting. And then some meetings would be just 5 minutes, and that could also not it seems that the definition could be hard to enforce, but if anyone can enforce it, it's probably fine.
Yeah, even then, within a committee, because committees also govern, the standing rules also govern committee action because it's official action. So it would be 2/3 of who's ever in your committee agreeing to not have the meeting, and that's essentially it.
Okay. Everybody on the same page? Woo. Perfect. All right. Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2443? I just kind of want to give a little bit of background about this bill for you guys. So we're all on the same page with the Indiana Lifeline Law, right? The caller is protected. Those who assist the caller, stay on scene, and are compliant are protected. The person in need of medical attention is not protected. This is under state law. The Purdue Medical Amnesty Policy is university-sanctioned discipline. This is Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities under ODOS, right? That's the Purdue Medical Amnesty Policy. Now, the Purdue Medical Amnesty Policy, though a bit ambiguous, it does state that the person who calls, as well as the person in need of medical attention, are both protected. However, it does not explicitly state that those who stay on scene and are compliant and assist the caller are protected. So that is what this bill is stating. And Senator Williams will speak on it more during new business likely. So, okay. Do I hear any informal discussion on Bill 2444?
For one, wait, Eli, did you go to caucus?
I asked so I asked the question in context of whether I should be going to caucus to support Arjun, and I was told, oh, I asked should I go to caucus in the context of should I help Arjun, and I was told no. So I didn't go to caucus because I didn't think I was allowed to.
No, should
So
you
yeah, it
go
was.
into caucus in regards to this bill? The answer is yes.
Yeah, I should have been there, and I do apologize for that. But I was told no in context of another bill going up, not in the context of this bill going up. I should have asked the question better. So, yeah.
It's good he's here now. An informal discussion for Eli.
Yeah, so I think Eli would be a highly competent election director. There were some concerns about conflict of interest. So I actually have a question for Jason, Paul, and Becca. Are any of you planning on running again for a position like vice president or president?
Dr. King?
Anybody has to say that because they can violate any of the election rules that can, then somebody gonna get them in trouble because they are campaigning. I'm just being honest, because campaigning and election rules is harsh and not very forgiving. So I don't want to put anybody in a predicament. Now, I have met with Eli and tried every power of my being to tell him this was the stupidest idea he could ever come up with. Sorry if I'm taking over some rules or something. But although it is the craziest idea I think he could ever come up with, I was 100% for it when he walked out my door because no one in here deals with an election director like I deal with an election director almost 24 hours a day for at least a month and a half. It sucks. Okay? I cannot tell you any amount of time, but they are literally an on-call conflict manager working with Jacob on a regular basis. And so after Eli told me a game plan before it brought to here, I'm like, I can get with it, but I am on his hip every part of the moment. The only person that is usually on the hip of the election director would be Jason. And so Jason is often connected. So I know last year, you remember, what was the child's name? Andrew was often with the election director because the president was focused on minimum wage. Okay? So, but I don't want anyone having to disclose because that is a very quiet process that no one comes up with and they already are. Half the people in here are probably running or part of somebody's campaign right now. I absolutely, and it's rare before you know this, absolutely guarantee it. And as soon as we get to signed off election rules, somebody will say, well, they came out early, they did this, now I want to fine them, now I want the point taken away, now I want the vote taken away. I'm not trying to get into that in October. We can wait for that in like February, March, okay? Sorry, I butted in.
No, you're good. Eli, could we possibly hear your game plan?
Oh, yeah, you can hear it, but you can also look at it. So in the SharePoint, under the folder Cabinet and Elections Director, I have a lot of stuff in there, especially in the folder called Elections Director. And there I have my Qualtrics application for the committee. I have my first court document where I just kind of just like listed out some things that I saw at court because, I'll be working with court a lot. I have my meeting with Martia. I took every single one of Sanvi, the previous elections director, cabinet updates from last year, gave my thoughts about them, was trying to figure out what she did every single day. I also have my timeline in there, so how the entire election is going to go time-wise. And then I have my to-do list in there, too, of everything that I need to do. But, yeah, I can tell you my whole game plan, but do you have any questions more specifically about it?
No, I didn't even know this existed. This looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot of information in there, and I have previous years in there that I've looked through, Yeah, and I also have this year's rules, this year's guidelines. So if you're ever like bored in your dorm room or anything and just like, I want to read something, read the election rules. And if you think, man, this guy's an idiot, slack me so that way I
28
can change
pages?
it.
What was last year's 28 pages?
Yeah, it is 20 something pages this year.
And please feel free to propose some changes. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Chief Justice Pranger?
Yeah, so I wanted to weigh in a little bit. Going off of that previous point, we will be meeting with, should Eli be appointed today, I do have a plan for court to dedicate some time for us to sit down, talk through the election rules, maybe add some points, get some clarity, so that the election grievance process can move as I almost said as slowly as possible, as quickly as possible, as smoothly as possible. That's the S word I wanted to see, and basically that. I do know there were a lot of I don't have as many details as I'd like to. From last election cycle, but I do know there were some problems with communication, there were some problems with speed, there was some problems with just basically everything at a court level on some points, and I feel like I've worked with Eli for about 2.5 months. It's hard to believe it's been that amount of time already. I feel like he's someone I can rely on. He's someone I will probably be able to reach. We work well together already. And should he be appointed today, I have no doubt in my mind that elections will go smoother with us working together than they did last year. We're willing to work out some kinks, work out some other stuff, make sure that elections improves year by year, and that we don't repeat last year for everyone who was part of that cycle.
Yes, Senator Rice.
Yeah. For one, I can't imagine elections this year going any worse than last year. So I think you already have a leg up on that. And Eli, I think you are a fantastic candidate for this. My concern is just that you will be holding two positions in government at the same time. I told everyone in caucus that probably outside of president and vice president during that period of time, and maybe not even outside of those positions, elections director is the hardest position to have in this government. So my concern would just be having you be, like Martia said, on call basically 24/7 and also trying to be chief of staff at the same time.
I think Deputy Chief of Staff Fonte might have some comments on that.
I was just gonna say I worked with Eli for almost 2 years now, and there's no one else in my life who's willing to just bear their head down and work more than Eli. It doesn't matter what position he's in, whether it's DCOS, whether it's been a senator, whether it's this, like he is willing to just do what it needs to get done. So not only think that that he could take on both roles, I also have talked to him and like we plan to split things up to make things a little bit more even going forward, and he knows that I'm here as a resource for him as well. Anytime he needs help with regular bod duties. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if I might add, again, I'm Shakina Glory, PSG VP. I came all the way from Indy, and I just wanted to say I think Eli is definitely up to the task. He has made my life down in Indy a whole lot easier. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Y'all got me blushing, man.
The other thing about last year too is there was limited effective delegation. It's not an appointed role, but we have a deputy elections director who will be Emily, who's the current GRED. She's in the back. She's also very good, and there will be an effective team this year. As we've seen already, Eli's ahead of the game, and him, Emily, and Jacob are going to be a very efficient elections committee, and it's going to go very smoothly. Also, Eli is certainly the most committed person in all of Purdue student government. He probably spends 4 hours in our office every day. He's always working on stuff. He's extremely committed, and Eli's a great fit. As Martia said, it seems ridiculous at first, but I thought about this a lot because a bad choice would be a headache for me, and Eli is certainly the person for the job.
Any other questions? I've had basically every single person in PSG now represent me. I kind of want to be put underneath pressure, but I guess I have the cornerstones helping me. So any other questions for me specifically?
Let me represent you two real quick, Eli. Eli is one of the most dedicated, I agree, dedicated and thorough and detailed. The election director must be thorough, must be detailed, and be able to communicate to you immediately at all times. Eli is 1,000% capable of that. He is the most meticulous person in PSG that I know.
I second that.
I looked at some of the documents. I think they're pretty thorough. I didn't see anything about. Not the conflict between you being election director and chief of staff, but you and your specifically, the chief of staff gets to spend a lot of time. You guys. Yeah.
I can. I don't want to be mean, but I'm gonna snip it in the butt right now. This election will be 100% fair, even, equal, no matter what. If I need to say I hate a candidate just to get it off my back, I will. I'm gonna snip it in the butt. This election will be fair. I don't care if my best friend is running. If he messes up, we're going to court. It's as simple as that.
So there's some oversight. So I also see the things, or at least have asked, and hear, if I don't see it from the election director, I hear about it from a candidate, and then I look into it. And so even in spaces where I thought there would at least lean a little to the left versus the right last year, especially for a population or a community of people, I looked into it, right? So they're not alone. Also, it's not just one person, it's a committee. And so they always have a chance, like this has to be reviewed by the committee and then go directly to Jacob. So I think that there's ways to balance that out. I would also say the other piece, getting someone from inside the group to run elections that knows how this works is extremely difficult. To know how to plan an event / debate, to reserve a room, to communicate out, to send out an email, to do knowing people who know how to do the work is extremely beneficial. And I don't think those things have been taken into consideration in the past. It's like, oh, my friend want to do it, come through. Or they're on some lower level commitment and just like, yes, I have aspirations to do that. And it works out like it did previously.
Yeah, and I'd also like to say, even if I did try, Martia would probably beat me bad. So, yeah, and I don't think that I could take Martia in a fight, so I'm not going to test that.
Thank you.
All right. It's already 8:42, guys. We gotta get moving. Okay. Sorry. ABTS lays and stews.
It's working. Okay, I'm gonna gap for a second simply because I was actually on the elections committee last year. So I kind of got like a front row seat to that interesting experience of mine. And, I actually worked with Emily, who's the proposed vice, I guess, deputy directions director. So I'll actually speak on her behalf and say that within the role that she was given within that committee, she performed it amazingly. I think that this choice of Eli is a really good idea simply because of his ability to be organized. He's already juggling BOD plus being on cabinet, because that was the main problem last year, is that it was disorganized and that it was I'm not going to say not fair, but it was biased. And I don't think that he has to juggle a bunch of directors already, and he remains very unbiased. So as someone who was like on that committee last year, I don't think that you'll run into that issue with Eli or with Emily on that committee.
And on the point of being biased, court will be the governing body basically, and court has to go through a whole bunch of unbiased training and all of that. So yeah, that's another fallback. So yeah.
Oh, your mic's not working? It's up to you, but it is 8:44, I must say. Okay, if anybody has any questions, please refer them to Eli or Jacob. if you have any questions about elections. Okay. Do I hear any informed discussion on Resolution 2406? Okay. Do I hear any? Oh, did you have an informed discussion?
This is Senator Kalangari. Just for anyone like who wasn't in caucus. So basically, there's a Campus Connect shuttle between the Lafayette campus and Indianapolis. But currently, right now, we're seeing a lot of issues with the timing. And then basically, like if we're trying to align this ideal of one Purdue, a lot of students are not able to go to West Lafayette for a club. And like a lot of career fairs too, I've noticed that's been a big issue. And then there's a lot of classes that are offered in West Lafayette, but not in Indianapolis. So basically, Purdue is telling us that we have to go on the Campus Connect shuttle if we want to attend those classes in West Lafayette. But currently, we're seeing right now, like with the timings, like that won't be possible for a lot of students. And then specifically on the weekends, there's only like 2 times, I'm pretty sure. So basically, if students in Indianapolis want to come to West Lafayette for like a football game, they have to take the shuttle at 8 a.m. from Indianapolis, but the time back to the Indianapolis campus is only like 10. So they would be spending 12 hours here, which is a really big inconvenience for them. So just from like a student perspective, we want to add more timing so people from Indianapolis and then people from West Lafayette can just experience both of them.
Just to add a couple more points, we've done our research. We sent out a survey and we got good respondents back. A lot of people are dissatisfied with the schedule. We've spoken to faculty members and they've expressed like their concerns regarding it because they're being forced to work more than what they're supposed to be working. And they were promised that the buses would be running up and down every hour, which is not the case right now. I spoke to a couple of bus drivers as well, and they're already complaining of being overworked. So we know that that's one of the issues that need to be fixed. Yeah, we've just been getting a lot of feedback from Purdue Indy and a couple people from Purdue West Lafayette as well, because I get it. No one wants to go there and spend the entire day at Indy or other way. So I think it's something that we need to really address. So.
Do I hear any informal discussion on Resolution 2407? Okay. Seeing no additional informal discussion, we will now move into unfinished business. Do I hear any unfinished business? No. Okay. Seeing none, we will now move into new business. Okay, also I want to remind you guys, proxies, make sure you're voting. And then the senator that authors the legislation should be the one to bring it up. And remember, you're allowed 2 debates per motion. Also, tonight, we will be referring a bill back to committee. So we're going to need a senator to do that motion. And then we're going to do president's opinion. And so we'll need a senator to do that motion. And then we'll be suspending the standing rules. And so we'll need a senator to make that motion. And I will prompt you guys on all that, unless one of you wants to do it. Yes?
Why do we need president's opinion?
For student legal services.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody wants to debate on that. Okay. Do I hear any new business? Senator Ramazami?
I move to bring up Bill 2440.
Can I get a second? It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2440, expanding ODOS approved absences to include professional leave. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. So at this time is when a senator can move to refer it back to committee. Yes, Senator Ramazami.
I move to refer Bill 2440 to the University and Academic Affairs Committee.
It has been properly moved and seconded to refer this motion back to committee. Motion is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Does anybody have any debate about it being referred back to a committee? Okay. Seeing none, we will now move into a vote on this motion. Please vote via the poll in the Senate Slack channel that Secretary Maria should have. Did you put it in there? Perfect.
We should not be voting in the poll that we are voting in, I don't think, unless we want to use it for that now.
Did you put for referring it back to committee?
Do we vote in the new one?
We can change the title of the poll that people are currently using, but the poll that is there that people are voting on is to vote in favor of or against the bill. There's
No,
one
no,
at-
people are voting
Scroll
in
to
the
the
bill. There's
very
one at the
bottom of
now.
the Slack channel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, make sure you're voting on that one. The one that says move Bill 2440 to UAA. Tonight we should have 25 present with proxies. Is that correct, Secretary Maria? One more? Okay, I guess we have 24. Okay. With a vote of 24 to 0, the motion passes. Okay. Do I hear any additional new business?
I move to package bills 2441 through 44, except 2442, and resolutions 2406 and 2407 into a consent calendar.
I'm going to let Parliamentarian Newman take that one.
May I request that Senator Grossman say only the bills that he would like to package in the consent calendar?
That would be bill 2441, 2443, 2444, and resolutions 2406 and 2407.
Parliamentarian Newman, do you have any commentary?
I mean, it's allowed. It's just a little confusing.
All right. Do I hear a second? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded to package bills 2441 through resolution 07. Is that what we're doing?
Except Bill 2442.
Okay. Bill 2441, Bill 2443, Bill 2444, Resolution 2406, and Resolution 2407 into consent calendar. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Senator Grossman?
I think these are all really great bills, and I think the Senate session is already pretty long, so in an effort to not have to vote on them all simultaneously, we can vote on them all at the same time.
It's 8:53, so yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Any other follow-up debate? Okay. Seeing none, we will move into a vote on packaging bills 2441, 2443, right? 2444, 2406, 2407 into consent calendar. Everybody good? All right. Please vote via the poll in the Senate Slack channel that Secretary Maria should be dropping right now. Yes, perfect.
As a reminder, as you're voting, immediately after the vote, if it passes, essentially when things go into a consent calendar, any senator has the authority to request one of those items be removed. So just remember, like if there was a topic that you did want to talk about or opposed against, Becca will say, are there any that would like to be removed from the consent calendar, and that's the time to do it. So packaging them doesn't necessarily mean that they will stay packaged, but you're currently voting on trying to package them.
Do they have to move to bring consent calendar A to the floor? No, it's already on the floor? Okay. Okay. With a vote of 24 to 0, consent calendar A passes. Or packaging consent calendar A passes. Okay. So now, do they directly vote on consent calendar A?
Now they need to bring it up.
Oh, they do need to bring up
Yes,
consent calendar.
sorry.
A.
What you had asked earlier,
Oh, no,
it was a different clarification than what I gave. But yes, now it needs to be moved to bring up consent calendar A.
Okay, can I have a senator moved? I will now entertain a motion to bring up consent calendar A. Senator Rice?
I move to bring up consent calendar A.
Can I get a second? Perfect. It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up consent calendar A. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate for senators.
Point of order, this is not debatable, but when she says amendments, this is the time for when, if you'd like one of the items to be removed from the consent calendar, now is the time.
Okay. Yeah, Senator Williams. Yeah, go ahead, speak on it.
I mentioned this in caucus, but I just wanted to reiterate the importance of Bill 2443 in helping, like PSG advocating that Purdue policy aligns with state policy. I kind of said this in caucus, but again, we really want to make sure that as we advocate for the expansion of the Lifeline Law, Purdue policy reflects what the Indiana State Lifeline Law is and expands protections to people who stay and assist. Oh, microphone, sorry. Who stay and assist a caller who's seeking medical attention on behalf of someone else. So I just wanted to reiterate the importance of that bill.
Can you drop the consent calendar A vote? Okay, perfect. We will now move into a vote on consent calendar A. Please vote via the poll. Okay, with a vote of 24 to 0, consent calendar A passes. 25 now. We have our, okay. 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 Bye, thank you. Can I have a senator move? I will now entertain a motion to bring up Bill 2442.
Senator Halder, I move to bring up Bill 2442.
Can I get a second? It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2442, Senate Standing Rules Amendment. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. We will now open up debate from senators. Senator Neiman?
I'll just say I like everything. I don't really like the pocket veto, so I'm going to vote no because you have to vote on the whole thing. So.
Senator Grossman?
I agree with Senator Eamon. I think the pocket gives more power to an already incredibly empowered pro tem. The pro tem has the power to bring a bill to the floor with no committee review, and this is further allowing the pro tem to disallow bills on a what I consider some basis.
Parliamentarian Newman, sorry, and then Senator Rice.
Okay, this is me serving not as parliamentarian, but like as we're actually like drafting this, originally it was this power is going to be given just to the committee chair alone, and then that was deemed too much. So the compromise was within committee as I was discussing this. It was the committee chair has to be mutual agreed by the committee chair and president pro temp. So there was a check on both of them. That is like just the simple clarification for what it looked like in the committee room as we were talking about it.
Senator Rice, do you have some?
I move to suspend Article 7, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Senate Standing Rules, allowing for the immediate implementation of the amendment on the floor.
Can I get a second? It has been properly moved and seconded to suspend a section of the Senate Standing Rules. In this specific case, by suspending the Senate Standing Rules, we are allowing the amendment to become effective immediately. This is amendable, not debatable, and requires a 2/3 vote. Are there any amendments? Seeing none, we will move into a vote on this motion. Please vote via the poll in the Slack channel. So this is to suspend the standing rules so that this can become immediately effective. So Secretary Maria will be dropping a poll in the... Oh, perfect. Yay. All right. 25 of you are here. All right, perfect. With a vote of 21 to 0 to 4, the motion passes. Okay. So somebody has to move to bring up the bill as... Oh, it's already on the floor. Okay, perfect. So debating it? Okay. Do I hear any debate? Senator Grossman?
As a committee chair, I feel such as the power to, schedule committee times and really drive the direction of the committee. And so I don't think we necessarily need to be giving them even more power to review legislation.
Any other follow-up debate? Seeing none, we will move into a vote on Bill 2442, Senate Standing Rules Amendment. Please vote via the Senate Slack channel, which is earlier up in the channel. Bill 2442, Senate Standing Rules Amendment. It's the second one in the most recent. And so these new legislative deadlines, if this passes, will be instated immediately as we just suspended the Senate standing rules. One more. $25, guys. Can somebody not find it? It's the second one. Oh, perfect. Okay. With a vote of 17 to 2 to 6, Bill 2442 passes. Do I hear any additional new business? Seeing none, we move into announcements. Do I hear any announcements? Dr. King?
Couple of things. If you can't, for whatever reason, find Becca, Paul, or Jason, I can help with PSG purchases, just if that is a concern. If you need help with maybe the tables are taken and the chairs, SAO does have a lending locker that you can borrow from, just letting you know. And then SAO Awards is open right now, and that's where you can nominate your student organization for a special award, programming and various categories. But there is also, especially for our EDs and others that oversee groups of people, there's a Rising Boilermaker Award. That's for your freshmen, sophomores who are really putting in some great work. I encourage you to nominate them for and it's just a few statements. Here's what they've done. Here's how they have excelled. I encourage you to nominate them for that award. They get a special recognition and a dinner in the spring. So those things are open, and thank you very much.
Chief Justice Pranger? Yeah. Or reach out to me and I can just give them your contact.
Sorry, real quick, I'd also like to meet with the board members.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
After.
Just
Perfect.
wanted to let them know so they don't leave. Thank you.
Yes, Jason.
I'd just like to say Eli is so committed.
I love that.
Did you just get the email where he scheduled a meeting? Oh, I'm like, did you also get the email where he scheduled a meeting?
Yeah, I had scheduled sent emails for 9 in the hopes that I got the position. So so they went to Martia, Purdue Convos to reserve Fowler Hall for the debate. Yeah. So if y'all didn't vote me in, then I had to do some cleanup.
Eli is eager.
I'd like to motion that we talk about Eli for the next 20 minutes. All in favor?
He saved my dog from a fire.
Okay.
I'm out.
Any additional announcements? Okay. Seeing none, we move into Senate snaps. Senate snaps, quickly. Yes.
I wanted to give Senate snaps to the Indy senators. We worked with them on the bus bill, and they did a lot of research to help get that forward, and they did a great job. So.
Yes, we love seeing Indy's. Senator Kalangari?
I was also just gonna thank all three of the College of Education centers. They helped a lot with the bill, so it was awesome. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Shankar?
I think we should give Senate snaps to Shakina, our vice president. She drove us here, and she's been such a great support for all of us freshmen, especially. So Senate snaps to Shakina.
Chief Staff / Elections Director Aide?
Can I give Senate snaps to Senator Rice and Hijas for working with BOD members on bills that are very fruitful to the student population. So thank you so much.
Senator snaps to Senator Grossman for getting us out of here at a reasonable time. Yeah, ABTS liaison, Steve.
Secretary and parliamentarian last names. Just for sitting
Maria
in front row
Newman.
and contributing so much for the conversation and taking such good notes.
Anyone else? Okay, if you got a Senate snap, or / if you just want food, take it from the basket. There's like 5 cookies left. All right, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? All right, it has been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn this meeting. It is not amendable nor debatable and requires a 2/3 majority vote. Everybody say aye. Okay, perfect.